The question was basically just to go through the NFT gallery site template and like how the admin works and how, what it stores and how it switches from mainnet to testnet. There's a couple kind of like cool little things in that template. So I'm just going to walk through, I'm going to share my screen and walk through, I guess, how it's built. And actually, I haven't really looked at this for a little while, so I'm just going to be kind of refreshing it as I go. 1 sec, sorry. Okay. So yeah, this is like a project. This is actually the project from the videos. I just opened it up. That was built from that template. So I think I'll start with the admin page, I guess. And I mean, if you have anything like super specific you want to see first, let me know. But I figured I could just like walk through this otherwise.
Yeah, sure.
So let's see. So yeah, I mean, I guess the first thing I can touch on here is this, the mainnet testnet thing. It's on the admin, but it's also on the site. And so what the admin is you're just filling out some values, but on the site, the first thing that happens and every time every page loads is it uses those two variables and then it checks for the current setting and that kind of thing. So that's a little bit like interconnected. But as far as this site settings part in the admin goes, we just have a collection with a single row that's called site settings, and we're just saving data into it. So to start, we save that mainnet contract address and the testnet contract address. And then that's what allows us to do everything else. And then there's also a setting in that database. I'll open the database in a second for set site to mainnet. And that's where you actually are like, it's like a setting in the database, whether the site is on mainnet or testnet. And the database here is called site settings. And you can see like for this project, it's just one row. And it's got a few, I mean, it's got more than the contract address, like the metadata URLs in there. It's basically any settings that go with this record or with this site. Yeah. So
Okay, so those are all just variables you can call onto any what is it, one of those classes or any flow, I should say, right?
Well, for now, all they are is records in a database, but that's what allows it to get stored like for everyone across all sessions. So when I put this site into mainnet, like anyone who goes to it is going to get that mainnet version. The database is what allows us to do that. So they will be variables, but they're not automatically variables. It's just if you get them as variables on the front end, this is just a way to save everything. And if you looked through this, there's one tricky part in here where when this page loads, I think, let me just check. So it's like, there's a couple of things in here about a wallet as an admin. And there's a thing that when the page loads, if there are no site settings, if that record doesn't exist, it creates it. And that has more to do with the fact that this is a template. So if you're making your own version, if you're making your own app, you can just create a site settings row. You don't have to worry about that. So you might see some extra stuff in here, but that's not really necessary normally. The stuff about the admin wallet is if you have a setting filled out for with a wallet address for an admin wallet, it restricts this admin to only that wallet. If you don't have it filled out, the admin's open to everyone. So it does a few checks in the beginning for that. And it does a little bar that says you don't have an admin wallet filled out, fill one out to protect the site. That's also because it's a template. So that's another thing you really don't have to worry about. If this was yours, you could set that restriction up as an admin if you want, or you might not even have an admin settings page. You might just set those settings directly in the database. So yeah, that's what that is. Do you have more specific questions on what the site settings are or how they work? Or does it make sense to go over anything else? If anyone else wants to chime in.
The one thing I would add, I think the important thing to note about what was just done, and Drew, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically what happens is it's on page load. Like all of these things now are set locally into the page and available for the page to now operate and like to change settings and to know what settings are changing into. So I think the principle of what I think is important to like what Cracker was saying earlier about them being variables, they're not variables yet, but they're set into variables on page load and made available in this structure. So it feels like odd to say, oh, like the data collection has the settings that my whole project is using. But I think that like act of using a data collection to store settings like this and knowing that you can make them available on page load to every page is like a really important principle to using Builder across the board.
Yeah.
I see. So in the page load, you guys set it as a variable.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it. Here we go. It's all set up. Here we go. So if I'm in the header, I don't know. I'm just kind of checking, but I bet there's something
I don't
in the
know
header.
this. I don't know this specific project, but
It's right here.
it's a principle that's really important. And then also the notion that this header is put into every single page. So as you load all your pages by using this one component everywhere, you only have to do and set these up once.
Yep. And basically it's like the header gets loaded on every page, and on the page load of the header, so basically the page load of every page, first thing we do here is set the site settings variable, and I just get it from the database. So it's like I'm setting a variable called site settings, and I pull that whole record. And you don't have to do it like that way, but what that would allow is basically I can at any time I can call site settings dot zero dot field name, and I'll get any of the site settings. So that's just how we set it up here. And then right after that, speaking of the contract address variable stuff, that's where it'll set on every page load, it'll set the contract address variables. So testnet, it gets from, actually it looks like it's getting it from the data collection directly. I could have gotten that from the variable I just set, but it's getting it from the database here. And it's actually a cool thing to point out is Builder won't actually make another network call when that happens. Builder's smart enough to know we already have the data and it'll get it from the cache. So setting it up like this is actually no different from using the variable that I already got. Like this is just as efficient.
Yeah, so I was just curious about that because I was like, well, how does it like? I was trying to look through the flows and I kind of got lost. I was like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, this one's just setting a variable called testnet, contract testnet, and then another variable called contract mainnet. It's just setting them. They don't actually do anything yet. And then there's this here checks if the site settings are set to mainnet. And if they are, it's going to use the mainnet variable. If they're not, it's going to use the testnet variable. So it's like a lot of flows to do something simple, but it's, you know, if the site was set to mainnet, it would run through this flow, which is set mainnet. And it's just another set variable that sets a main contract address variable to the contract mainnet variable. So it's like, it's kind of hard to, it's like a lot of steps and a lot of trees that branch out, but each thing is actually pretty simple. This is just a mechanism to say, are we on mainnet in our settings? Use the mainnet contract address. Are we on testnet? Use the testnet contract address. And then it just applies everywhere because it's in that header. You can just use, you know, it's anywhere that you use contract address variable in the actual application. It's either going to be the mainnet or the testnet address based on the setting automatically by default. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. You just kind of swap out the variable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another quick question. So, how do I change like when you open a new tab, how do I change that little icon and the label for that? Like, if I take a template, like say like I take like the mint page that you guys have, right? A template.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I tried to change, like I can't find I don't really know how to change that little icon and that little like text in that it pulls up.
In the actual tab, you mean, or like in the
Yeah,
developer
so
tab?
like if I open it up, it'll just show like that little PFP that you guys created and like mid page or whatever. You know what I mean?
I'm not sure what you mean actually.
Okay, so it's like in you see where it says that little globe and home?
Up here.
I think you
Globe.
mean
Yeah.
title and icon.
Yeah, okay. So that's there's a couple ways, like in Builder, there's kind of like a shortcut way to do that, which is it's the page title. So if you're on a
Page title.
page and you go to page properties, page title for browser tab here, that's right here. So you can change that per page.
Okay.
There's also like a little bit more of like, I guess advanced is the wrong word, but more like a different way to handle it where you can set a page header with page title, page description, like a share image for when people share it on social media, and a few other properties. That's why I usually call that like an SEO page header, but that's not really a technical name. That's another way to set the title. And what I do is like on every production site, I don't do this on everything I build, but everything I build that goes to production, every single page, I have a set of headers that's specific for SEO, and I set the title in there usually.
Oh, I see. So
And that's where I see
when
the
it
little icon too. In this case, the icon is also in your project settings, which is down here. So this, like, I don't have an image here, but this, if you set an image for this, that'll be this little globe.
oh, okay.
But again, that
Project
can get
settings.
controlled per page as well. Like I usually control it per page with those page headers.
Oh, using that metadata of whatever SEO thing.
Yeah, and I can
Okay.
paste like a generic version of what I use. I use the same thing and then change the title for whatever page it is. I can paste a generic version of that into Discord. It's like a handful of tags.
Can you show?
Oh, okay.
Can you show where you're talking about in the header file here, Mark? We
What?
also just got a lot of requests to do like an SEO
Drew.
or Mark, sorry. Drew. We also just got a request to do like an SEO live to like teach people how to do this well and manage it across their whole project. So I think that'll be a good example to follow up this with, is like, here's how you would think about doing this across your whole project.
Yeah, I'm trying to find one. I just opened the wrong project and now I have to wait for it, but trying to find one that has them filled out. I think this one does. Yeah, we need to do something, but we also need to improve it in the studio. So it's hard because like I hesitate to teach people this crazy method. You'll see it's just like a lot of copying and pasting. So this is a site that's done and in production, and I assume that I have SEO stuff in here. Yeah, here's an example. So this is a page header, and it looks like this site, it just uses one for the whole site, which usually I have one for each page. But I think I forget why we do it this way. But anyway, there's a couple like default values. So this top one is the icon, and it's in two formats because different browsers read different things, etc. But this top one's the icon. Then there's the title right here, and you basically just have to repeat it like 4 times. Like this, some of these are for Facebook, some of them are for Twitter. Really, they should all pick up the title, but this is just like a really good, solid way to do it. So there's title. The next block is description, which personally I don't even ever fill out anymore, but it's, it's extra SEO information. This next block where there's 3 of the same images, that's the share image. So if someone shares your link on social media and an image pops up, that's where you control it, is right here, that page. And then this right here is kind of cool. It's called a canonical link, which it basically, you just set it for the URL that your page is, and it tells Google this is the one true source of information for this page. It's just a nice little SEO touch. It's not necessary. And then these last things you don't have to touch. They're just properties of how it looks when it's shared on social media. So that's what this is. And what I do is every time I create a new page and it's going to go into production, I copy this whole thing, create a page header for each page, and then I go into the media library and I update my fave icon, that little icon, and I update a share image. And then in the media library, you can get the address of any image. So like there's probably, I'm not sure which, this is probably the share image. So I upload this into the media library, and then there's this copy CDN file path. And so I get it from there to put it into the header. So it's a bit tedious, but you can see how it's going to be pretty easy to get it automated. So I would copy it like that and then come into this right here and replace it, paste it in. So that's
Nice,
basically
that's
how
awesome.
I would do SEO in titles. Sorry, what's that?
Oh no, that's good. That's a good little tip right there. Like
I
that.
think one thing I might add to here, just in case anyone ever ends up listening to this is also where if you have like programmatic SEO occurring, where you have a lot of pages, like let's say blog posts, and you actually want the title of the page to reflect the blog post title, or the description to reflect like a specific short description about that page, There's also a way to bring data dynamically into these based off of what record is set onto the page. Like a blog post, and you can leverage builders' data collections to make that happen, which is pretty awesome and powerful, especially when you look at programmatic SEO, which might be some sort of strategy that you do at some point.
Yeah, that'll be, excuse me, I was choking on some water. That'll be in here if you enable dynamic page data. Sorry about this voice. That's where you'll be allowed to insert into the header. But it's a manual process again, so it's annoying.
Yeah, I think we'll make it not manual at some point here.
Yeah, exactly.
It probably realistically all belongs under like page properties, and somewhere in like those tabs is like, here's all your metadata descriptions, all that.
Yeah.
What header files are on this page.
Awesome. All right, are we good to keep going? Looks like we've got a few more questions now.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, that's super helpful. Okay, so next up, it looks like Z Spaceman, you've got a question on Lottie files. Would you like to jump on and ask it? We can't hear you just in case you're talking.
Gosh, my mic was muted the whole time.
There you are. Okay.
All right. So basically I'm just trying to, make a form real quick. And then when I hit submit, this Lottie file comes up. Now the problem is it should be animating. And I feel like it's a timing thing. I'm not totally sure, but realistically, I just want it to play once and then I'll hide it. Or put a button in there for a new input. But the problem is when I first do it, oh, of course, I need to hide it real quick. That just fix it? I don't know what just happened.
I don't know if that will fix it. Maybe it did, but if not, I think I know how to fix it.
No, okay, there it goes. There it goes.
There's an action for like Lottie play, basically. So when you show it, at the same time you show it, just run that Lottie play action.
Okay, so Lottie
Yeah,
run.
run command.
Oh,
And then I think, yeah, it's a list. And then it'll just play. I think it'll just play once like you want it and stop.
perfect.
Sweet.
Ooh.
Easy. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Okay, that was an easy one. I love it. Thank you, Drew. Okay, so let me see here. Is Bexley in the call today? Bex, are you on here? I know you had a few things.
Yeah.
You still need help with those? Oh, look at that cute animal. Is that
My
a
it's a
kookaburra?
no quokka.
Quokka. Ah,
Yeah, it's they're only available on a little island just off the coast here. But
oh, wow.
yeah, they're very cute little animals.
Yeah, and I get very lucky they've got a whole island to themselves. Look at that water. What a life. Well, whenever you're ready, feel free to share your screen and let us know what you are working through.
Or it's 2 seconds. Okay. Just trying to get this. So I've got a custom action that is I'm using to control this trading view chart widget. I'm just going to set up a breakpoint so I can show what's going on. and for the most part, it's working. But this one thing is just driving me crazy. So I'll show. It's pretty straightforward. This is the code. So I'm just setting the ticket name, the width, the height, the time frame into variables. And I've got a little console log here to drop out the height and the interval, which is what I'm having problems with. So the ticket name and the width, those variables are getting passed in correctly. But the height and the time frame, when I do a breakpoint, which I'll show you, this data is getting into the action, but it's not actually feeding in past this, which is really strange because it's pretty straightforward. There's not a lot here. So I ended up putting this code in just to put some defaults in if the height and the interval don't get picked up.
Yep.
So I'll go across. So I'll enable this breakpoint. And I guess the other thing I should show is in the action type. Start with this one. So yeah, width, height, time frame, ticket name, and then jump in the JavaScript, and it's same as what I showed in Notepad++, right?
I might have just seen something. Can you actually go back to the trading view add chart in the main properties? See height there? It's got a typo.
Typo?
Yeah, 8. It's like that one says like, yeah, that is different. The T and the H I think are switched. For some reason my brain can't tell what's switched. But yeah,
right.
Something's up with that one. Yeah.
Good pickup.
Oh, Drew, that's amazing how you were able to see that. That's
I couldn't even explain what it was. I could just tell it was different. That was really weird. But also there's no interval here. You have to put the interval here for it to work as that input argument that you're pulling it from.
Oh man, how many times I've gone through this?
Time frame. Oh, maybe time frame's in there. If time frame's in there as an input, then you're good.
Yeah,
it's case sensitive though, so that's actually that might be why I think that's all lowercase.
Right. Oh man, that'll be it.
I think that's gonna be it.
Yeah, that will be it. Because I've gone through everything else like a dozen times. And I've looked at this like, I don't know how many times. It's my dyslexia. Sometimes I just transpose things. Yeah, it's one of those things when you look over stuff and you just go past it. That will absolutely be it, because there was those two items. I was seeing the data getting in through the breakpoint, and then nothing else was happening.
Yeah, sounds like that's definitely going to be it.
Okay, let's. Yeah, I've got some other things that I broke here as well, but I need to go through and work out. Oh man, why didn't that show up? Did the breakpoint even fire? It didn't even fire. I think yesterday I cleaned up some user data, and I deleted something I shouldn't have, so I'm going to have to go back through and change that. But that's absolutely what it would have been. So this will take me longer to work out what I broke. But the other thing I wanted to work through, which is simpler. So on my main landing page, this area here, I've got a background image configured. Here, so scroll over to this, but it's really weird. Like, okay, which. So there's one cool image that I really wanted to use as the background. So this is it here, but it was working for a while. Media. And I've tried, if I use something else, so I'll grab this other image, which I've got in here, and I'm using this one down here. And that one works okay. So it shows up here, right? I mean, it's not formatted correctly, but it shows up here. Actually, I did it right. Yeah, should be in section here. Where is? Oh, I replaced the wrong image. That'll be right.
Oh, that's the logo. I see. I see.
Yeah. Never mind. Can fix that up
It
there.
might be on that website section hero class, right? Like if it's a background image in CSS.
Oh yeah, it'll be in the class.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it. So change this one. Yeah, so that one shows up fine. But this other one, which is what I really wanted to use, it doesn't show up. And I've tried it as a JPEG or a PNG. I've converted it in different programs, and yeah, it just
Can we
doesn't
look
want to
at
do
the
it.
name of it real quick, Bex? Like, does it have any special characters or anything in it?
It's just numbers. Oh, let me do bring it up in the media. Over. Yeah.
Okay.
So it actually worked for a little while, and then one day I refreshed and it just wouldn't load, and from then on it wouldn't load. It's weird. But all
What do
my
you
other
think?
ones load.
I wonder if it's like even just like a cache issue, or maybe it's just not displaying. Like it doesn't display on the preview also, right?
Correct, yeah. But
Can we
sometimes
delete
it
it?
does, sometimes
Add
it
it?
doesn't. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can play.
Yeah, you don't even have to delete it from there. You can just re-add it from this. Yep, in the style there on the right.
Oops, media. Sorry, just grabbing it. So, I mean, is PNG or JPEG better in general for this type of stuff? Any preference?
PNG is usually a larger file size, but it's not compressed at all. It's called like lossless, so it usually looks
Right.
better. But like JPEGs, if it's especially if it's a big image like that, are usually much smaller and file, and so you can load faster.
So I use the JPEG and just see. It looked alright as JPEG. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
It's
This
really
doesn't-
weird. It's really weird.
Can you, Bex, can you chat me that image file as well, just so I can do some
Yeah.
testing once we wrap here?
Yeah. See any other my other ones that I choose except the one that I want.
That's why I think
Yeah,
it might be
cool.
cache, but I don't know. Do you know how to clear your cache? Like if you open inspector, you can right click on the refresh button. And you can do like a clear
In
cache
here?
refresh. I would say try that real quick just in case.
If you
If you-
can go to developer tools.
Yeah, right click. Yeah, exactly. And you're over there, just open that. It just has to be open for this to work. And then on the actual refresh page icon, that like arrow, circle arrow,
Top
like for the
left,
browser, like for the whole, like yeah, like the whole URL. Yeah,
Oh,
right
here.
click that.
hold on to that and then set,
Yeah, bottom one, empty cache and hard refresh. That way we're
Alright.
just clearing out and then hard refreshing the site, and maybe it'll show up. You can close the inspector whenever.
I did not know that little trick. That's cool. Yeah, whenever I've cleared cache, I've done it for the whole the,
Oh, yeah,
everything,
yeah.
and it's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't come up. What's in there? Oh, hang on.
I'll set the other one. All right.
See what the other one in there. Come on, builder.
He's chugging along.
Yeah, black.
That's really weird. I mean, it has an underscore at the end of the file name. Like it's gonna be something weird like that. I think like just a really random thing. But I think yeah, it's something like we'll get the file and do a bunch of tests, and then we'll whatever is happening, we'll like have to account for it.
Okay,
in our
cool.
core basically.
No worries.
Yeah. that seems-
There's one other thing that'd be cool to chat about is my little pop-up down here. This tracks, so if I refresh. Yeah, it's my little subscribe pop-up. My sister, she's on Mac. She's got a slightly older Mac. And she was telling me the padding is off on Safari. And yeah, I was looking around and I couldn't see any specific, like some of the stuff on the web was saying, oh, it's like a broken font or things like that, why padding would be different on Safari to everything else. But,
yeah.
um,
Yeah, it'd have to be something a little strange. Like some stuff in Safari is just different, but not like on the like the level of padding. The padding's pretty consistent everywhere. Have you
Yeah.
looked at it? Like, do you have Safari on your computer to look at or anything?
No, I'm a Windows guy, so unfortunately I don't have. I guess I could load Safari, the browser, because they have a Windows version of Safari, don't they? I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean the browser I think would probably be the same. I don't know, but it's probably something pretty specific. But if you could
Yeah.
have them open side by side and compare, I guess that would be like, you know, when you're in the inspector and you're like mousing over each section, you can see like the padding and you can see the color code things. That's probably
Right.
what my approach is. I would just like do that in here and see where all the padding and
But
placement is.
how? I guess I mean, because I can jump on a Zoom with my sister as well and check out, but I don't know how I would adjust it for one versus the other though.
Is
yeah,
there
I
an
think
option, Drew, that recognizes the browser?
Like the
Have that?
user agent thing.
oh, an action that does it. I don't remember if we have one.
Let me
I think
see.
there's probably like, so most properties in CSS, they just work. So like something like padding should
Yeah.
just work. But if it's something a little different, I can't even think of a good example. Some properties though, you have to double them and do a -WebKit prefix. So it's like
Right.
backdrop filter is one, and you have to do backdrop filter and WebKit backdrop filter every time. So it could be something like that where that's how you fix it for Safari, but it would be unusual to be that situation for like a padding thing. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
If you want to chat me the URL in Discord though, I can take a look. I have Safari and like Brave. I can just put them side by side and see if I can find anything.
Okay. That'd be great.
All right, Bex, and then if you could also send that file so we can try it out. I would also just try to strip it of the underscores and just see and re-upload and see if that helps at all. But we'll definitely try that out in our testing.
Cool.
All right, thank you, Bex. Let's see, what else do we have? I think, Mitch, if you're still on, I believe you needed some help working through some stuff. And then Josh, did I miss anything in the chat for any questions, or were you able to help John?
I think there's probably some things we can show John if we have time.
Okay.
So we're working through some things.
Okay, cool. Mitch, are you up for showing your screen and help out? Okay, cool.
Great.
Take a look and then we'll jump back over to John.
Okay, so I'm having this this whole canvas here. This canvas is basically a grid, and the grid page is then a container that dynamically loads each module depending on what it is. And so one of the things that's happening here, I think I have to do this from start, it'll be easier, is that one of the functionalities here is that you can edit or shuffle these. But what's happening right now is that this shuffle button is sending the, this is in the grid row, these buttons, and then it's basically telling that child page that was loaded to shuffle. However, that page obviously is this, these are the same pages, so it's shuffling both. I'm trying to figure out some way so this shuffle button only shuffles this one.
Okay, yeah. There's a mechanism built in for that, which is like really poorly shown. Like it's not obvious, basically, that's what I'm trying to say. So I can show you. Basically, what you do is you target the page that you want to run it on by a variable. So I don't know if you already have this in place or not, but if not, you can put it. It's basically, is there like some variable that's different, same variable, or maybe it's variables only on one of the pages?
So the way it works is that the actual the page is getting pulled from this. Where is it? Oh, the mess here. I think, yeah. So these are the ingredients as an example. And you have this builder object that has.
We're not seeing that. I'm seeing the websites though.
Oh, okay. Let me share the whole screen.
Window or something.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Okay, so if we're looking at the object, this is what's going into the grid, and this builder object has, the page ID, etc. So that's actually the open page on the grid row is actually loading this into it. So I guess, yeah, that is a variable.
Yeah.
But that is unique to, yeah. So for example, if these first two were the same module, this builder object would be the same for both of them. So how would you distinguish one from the other?
So in that case, it would run it on both of them, the method that I'm going to describe. So you basically, that wouldn't work. What you'd need to do, I think, is you can just set like basically create a new mechanism for this. So when the page loads, it sets a variable and then it tells its parent what that is or something. Like you might have to get a little creative, but the point of it, which we can actually just go set up and you'll see what I'm getting at. The point of it is you can target with a variable, you can target which page to run the action on when there's multiple pages. So if
Okay.
you go to that run flow on page, wherever I don't even know which page it runs from right now.
Are we talking about for the shuffle button?
Yeah, for the shuffle button.
Yeah, it's here. Big ol' fucking mess this is. Where is it? Controls, shuffle.
So yeah, that run flow on page, see those last two, variable name and variable value? If you set variable name,
Oh, I see.
that'll be whatever variable you're like looking for, and then variable value, it'll only run that flow that you have set if there's a variable on that page with that value.
Oh,
Yeah.
clever. So then the question becomes how it would probably be easiest to put that variable, to set that in the object inside the backend versus doing it here. That would probably make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think so based on like a little bit I've seen that sounds logical, but like it probably depends. Like you'd have to go in the details of how you have it set up. Any way that you can get that variable on that page though, it'll work. So
So name value, that's just key value.
Yep.
All right. All right, I can figure that out then.
Sweet.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Awesome, Drew. Thank you. Good luck, Mitch. Let us know if you need help along the way.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, John Merritt, are you still needing help? Or Josh, is there something we'd like to show for John's question? And John, feel free to state your original question so anyone can refer to it.
Sure. So, sorry. Hey guys. I know it sounds really basic, but I've tried to make a button stay clicked and I have a different state, and I think I'm goofing up somewhere. So I'm going to plead operator error. Can you guys show me the basics on that, where it goes from it's a selected state, it's got a different color, to a button that's next to it that's not selected? Can you show that real quick?
Yeah, do you want to look at your project and set it up there?
Yeah, we could do it. I could talk you through in your project if you want, or I can just like build it sort of, or kind of show it on my own.
Do you mind building it? Because I think I goofed up somewhere, and we're probably going to troubleshoot for like 50 minutes. You know what I mean? I'm being very
Yeah,
candid.
that's fine. So there's a couple things, like a couple different possibilities for a button state and what you might even mean. So basically, like I'll just do this while I'm talking. If I'm assuming you have like some default styles on your button, like say I had, I actually have to change that blue. That's like hurts my eyes.
Yeah, I have a opacity of 0.5 on it to transition from a solid state to a hopefully a selected state.
Oh, so you mean like when they click on the button, it becomes selected forever, or like just as the actual mouse is clicked down?
As it's clicked down, the grid list is showing, but that button stays selected. And then as you click the button next to it, because I got 5 buttons stacked next to each other, you click the button next to it, the button that was previously clicked depresses, the other one clicks, shows a grid list. I see. Just trying to figure out what I goofed up on the buttons, that's all.
So basically for that, say you have like a couple, like I would control that all with classes. So I did a little bit of styling as like a default button class. That can be your default. So it's kind of up to you if you want to make that the 0.5 opacity, and then maybe like a selected class is when it's more visible. Like I'll do something like that, but you could actually do that the opposite way too. Let's say I had opacity 0.5 and they'll all go like that. And then what I would do is make a utility class, and you can call it button selected, and you just overwrite whatever style you need. So instead of opacity 0.5, I want it to be 1 for that. And the utility classes always override primary style classes. So that's how you can be sure if you have all these have the button class, but this is the only one with that utility, so it's going to show up like that. And if I remove it, it goes back. So you're that's how you're going to make it look like that. And the way that I would do this, do you have the buttons in a grid list, or are they just out in the open side by side?
They're stacked side by side. I have the grid list directly below it, linked to it.
So basically you'll need a flow. If they're in a grid list themselves, you could do this like one flow in the row page, but when they're just out stacked, not in the grid list, you'll need a flow for each button basically. So however many you have, you can just duplicate.
Yeah.
But button 1, so it'd be like select button 1, and you can obviously call these whatever you want, but I usually just try to do a nice system so they're all organized. But you have select and deselect.
Oh, so I only have select buttons. So I created a select flows, grid list, stage 1, select, and then I have the element value set with a grid list, actions tied to it from my collections, get all fields, and then I have the sort by, which ties back to that button.
Yeah.
Now I understand. Okay, got it.
But in addition, for that's like getting the grid list stuff. For the actual button, what in that same exact flow, you can just do add style class and add the selected class to the button. So the class to add is button selected, the element, and you would have these named differently so you can see them, but I'll just assume that's the first one. So that'll be like for selecting. And then for deselecting, you just need that in like to revert that state. And for that one, we're going to remove style class selected from that. And that's just a mechanism to get it deselected. But the actual trick here, there's kind of one last little step, which is every time you select a button, you're going to run your stuff to load the grid and whatever. And then you're going to add this add style class. You also there basically want to run a flow that deselects every other button. And so what I do for that, it's kind of like just like good organization, basically, I guess, to do it this way. But I'll have a separate deselect for each button, and then I'll create like kind of like a main flow that's like deselect all buttons. And I usually capitalize it because I use it like this, I can see it. And in there, you nest all the different deselect buttons you have. So as you make more buttons, you have to remember to put them in here. But then every time one's selected, you can run deselect all. And you run it before you select the one you're on with a wait in the middle. So that's basically what that's going to do is if you select button 1, it's going to deselect all the other ones and then add that class to 1. And then what you can do is you have select button 1, you can just duplicate this flow for the other buttons. So this would be like select button, 2, you keep that same deselect all, and you just choose the second button. And then this would be deselect 2, and you just choose that second button. And then like remembering, you just have to remember to put this in there. So like, and I could actually just test this and show it now. Whoops.
Okay, so what I was missing was first, I didn't create a standard class, utility class that would help with the flows. The second thing I didn't do was create a deselect per button. Okay, that's where I was falling short. Okay.
It selected the wrong button. Kind of did it.
Probably doesn't
Yeah, I
help.
mean, does that generally make sense? Do you have some questions? I'm sorry.
It makes sense. I know where I goofed up. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, John. Well, that takes us to time. Was there anything that I missed? Hot chat today. Okay. I think that must be it. So we'll go ahead and call a session. We do it every week. I'll try and upload the recording tomorrow for you all. Thank you so much. And big thanks to Jura and Josh for helping with all the wisdom today. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend,
Thanks.
everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.